All right, today we are going to be switching shapes. So we're going to do properties of rhombuses, rectangles, and squares. So a rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles, but not exactly 4 congruent sides. And then a square has both 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. So we're going to look at some properties that go along with these 3 shapes. So if a parallelogram is a rhombus, then that means that the diagonals are perpendicular. So if we draw in the diagonals here, then we can say that AD is perpendicular to BC, meaning that they form this 90-degree angle there in the middle. Also, if a parallelogram is a rhombus, then the diagonals bisect a pair of opposite angles. So we have the diagonals, and what they do is they cut these angles in half. So 1 is congruent to 2, and it's also congruent to 7 and 8. And then 5 and 6 are congruent to 3 and 4, as well as congruent to themselves. Then we have, if it's a rectangle, then their diagonals are congruent. So here we're given a rectangle. We can say that AD is congruent to BC. So if we look at some example problems for these, we're going to have to find the number in the rhombus. So first, when we look at the rhombus, we know that the diagonals are perpendicular to each other. So that means that I get these 4 right angles here. So that automatically tells me that angle 3 equals 90 degrees. And from there, I'm going to have to figure out what all of the other angles are. So I can figure out angle 2 automatically because I know that this angle is congruent to this one. So this is 50 because those are bisected by the diagonal. And then I also know that these 2 over here are 50. So angle 2 is 50 degrees. And then from there, once I figure out that, I can figure out angle 1 and angle 4. So what I have to do is now I have a triangle. And so angle 1 and angle 4 are going to be equal because, again, those diagonals bisect those pairs. So what I'm going to do to figure out angle 1 and angle 4, I have a triangle. So I'm going to do 50 plus 90 plus x equals 180 degrees. And I have to solve for x. So 50 plus 90 is 140. And then I'm going to subtract 140, so we get x equals 40. And so that is also what angle 1 and angle 4 equal. And really, I could fill out the rest of the picture because I know that these ones are bisected. So there is my rhombus with its angles. Now the next one here for number 1, again, we're going to have to solve for x based on the given information and what we know. So I have a rhombus, so I know that the diagonals are perpendicular, so that those angles equal 90. So that means that 11x plus 24 equals 90. So I'll use that equation to solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 24 from each side. So I get 11x equals 66 and divide by 11. So then I get x equals 6. Now for number 2, I'm given a rectangle. And remember what we know about rectangles is that their diagonals are congruent, meaning that they are equal to each other. So I'm going to set AD equal to BC, and I'm going to plug in from there. So I'm going to do 12x minus 5 equals 10x plus 7. I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. So I get 2x minus 5 equals 7. Add 5 to both sides. I get 2x equals 12. Divide by 2. And we get x equals 6 again.